Welcome everyone to Tarot Journeys with Guy. How's everybody doing? Now today what we're going to do is a little update on the Shadow War and take a look at what's going on behind the scenes and keep everybody updated with what's happening because things are moving ahead fast. Now let's just start off first with condemning violence of all types, okay? And how what we're dealing with right now is a deep state war against the people, okay? And the deep state being ingrained and placed in every government and every group on the planet now. And what we're seeing in Israel, between Israel and Hamas and the Palestinian people, this is what we're seeing. So I don't support the actions of Hamas, the Hamas terrorists, and the terrible actions that they took. And I don't support the deep state run Israeli government, okay? And what they're doing right now in Gaza. And it's horrendous. What was perpetuated is right in step with how they have been playing us, the people all over the planet, and pushing us into these wars, okay? Now, ever since like the attack in Israel and then the Israeli response, I mean, there's been protests all over the world and you can see the division. And maybe that's part of it, is for us to really see who are these people that are supporting war and supporting genocide and supporting maniacs on both sides, okay? And we saw that in Australia, UK, Canada, United States, people protesting against Israeli action, okay? And that was one thing where you started to see all of these leftist groups and these groups that were present before, like BLM and stuff, coming out and supporting Hamas. Okay, that's like one thing where these radical groups have been placed here now. And then the other side of it with the neocons in the States and stuff, and seeing how they're supporting an open conflict and sending money now and from Ukraine, instead of being all in on Ukraine, now they're trying to push it over on the other side, okay, to Israel, and the world community is being divided through this. This thing with Israel and Palestine, this has been right from the beginning, like 1948 and the partition and everything that the United Nations got. Like, I mean, it's almost like it was all baked in right from the beginning, okay? And that's what we've been watching, is like how this script is being played out. So, and that's part of it. And like this deep state war is still taking place. And you better believe that these deep state bad actors in the intelligence community and these private interest groups have stacked the chips on both sides, and these same terrorists, these same organizations, these same groups are being brought over into the US and up into Canada. And also into Europe. But right now in the States, this is a serious thing. And this is what we were talking about for the last couple months, that this was what was taking place. And so we can see what their aim is if we take a look at what happened in Israel and with Gaza. That's why it's important to see how they're playing on all sides of it, okay? And that the people don't want any part of it, okay? The situation with Israel is so sticky, is so difficult, okay? And this is where we get into, I don't support the government or the politic, but I support the people. And this thing with the Gaza Strip and the West Bank and everything, like the Gaza Strip is like what they're seeing, and the mainstream media is really pushing this out, but this is what we've known for a long time, that this is like an open air prison, okay? And like these people can't come and go They're not free. And the whole of Israel is like this is a totalitarian clampdown zone. An example for the rest of the world, perhaps? Yes, perhaps. Okay. Now, when you see the horrendous things that have taken place, it's easy to justify the actions back, okay? But eye for an eye, blood for blood, violence for violence doesn't work, okay? And the people have to understand this, and that they're being played, right? So, and this is where us in the so-called free world and us, that's where we come in as peacemakers and not get caught between both sides or get caught on one side or the other. And that it's very easy to do so, okay? It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible what's going on and has been going on there for a very long time, okay? Equally, the Israeli people and the Palestinian people have a right to live, period. Nobody should be wiped out on either side, but both sides are calling for the elimination of the other side. Now, this thing with Iran, now people in the Western world have to wake up and try, and you have to realize that your government has been funding a fundamentalist government that is anti-American, anti-Western, anti-Jewish, to the point of genocide. Like demanding the elimination of all Americans and Jewish people. And then you have this government that fund these people, and this is the same in Canada and everything, right? So it's absolutely absurd. And so to fool yourself into thinking that they don't have the same plan by letting all of these military-aged men from North Africa and the Middle East and Pakistan and India and places, right, where large contingents of Muslim people live, but these fundamentalists, where they've been funding them, like Hamas, like Hezbollah, ISIS and Al-Qaeda, they're placing these people and have been in the States and in Canada and other parts of the world. For sure they have. And we will see some kind of an attack if we don't stop these guys. And that's what's at stake. And you see how these people, us, are being played. And that's terrible. And this is why the awakening is so important. This is why we are, I guess, on the forefront in some ways. This is a very dangerous one. This isn't, with Ukraine, equally as terrible and equally as dangerous. But I think the escalation level on this one is much more. So going around and waving flags, this is very dangerous. Like hosting, and picking one side or the other is very dangerous. You tend to be on the wrong side of the real conflict, the true conflict, which is these totalitarians versus the people. And every single time, the people, the everyday people, the common people that you would sit down and have lunch with and share, and be friendly with, we're all being killed. And that's the thing, is these deep state bad actors, like what you see in Gaza, in a way, that's what they want for the rest of us. What you see in Israel, what you see in Gaza. Let's not get too dire here. There's a lot of good people on the planet. In fact, there's way more good people on the planet than there's bad seeds, okay? And that's what we have to keep in mind. And our ability to overstep that, but the trick and what we're being tempted into is into this war, into a war. They want World War III. And it's so apparent. And this is definitely one of these things that could really spark a large global conflict. So enough said there. Let's take a look what's going on behind the scenes. We know this is a distraction. What are they trying to get away with? What's the next steps? What do we need to be prepared for? That kind of thing. What can we see? what's going on right now. Interesting. So present card is the Three of Wands. And what's interesting is you've got two queens. Reverse Queen of Wands below and the Queen of Pentacles above in the spiritual placement. And this represents the material world. And so the Three of Wands is that's an interesting card. I mean, I've talked a lot about this card. This card pops up a lot. The three, and you see him holding the sticks and he's kind of set up something. Okay, so yeah, it's a setup, right? But this is part of a plan that needs to be sort of implemented in order to fulfill a larger goal around what we've been seeing in the world. Now, you got to understand, this is a Shadow War update, right? So you've got a card about money and the material world and how the material world operates, but it's in a spiritual place where you have a spiritual card or more of a spiritually oriented card and negatively aspected in the material, right? So it's the spiritual impulse is to eradicate, to get rid of the rotten core of our system. Now, here we go, right? So World Economic Forum, Great Reset type is this resetting and continuing this decrepit and rotten way of society, this infrastructure, right? Whereas the Patriot side and the impulse, the spiritual impulse of the people is to instate it with a genuine spiritual root and a genuineness of life, which is what the Queen of Pentacles can represent, okay? And a much more sort of based around human values and the natural order of things. This system is soaked with blood. And every aspect of it is. And so even us as the good people, we are taking part in that ritual. This whole thing, the whole thing is this massive ritual, okay? And it only leads to one end, and that's destruction and war. And we have to know this, we have to see this, okay? So, and that's kind of what all of the readings that I've been trying to show people is that this is, so we can't get too carried away because this is part of the plan. As terrible as that sounds, what we're seeing in Israel, it has to happen in some way or shape or form in order for it to come to the surface, or in order for their machinations, like the dark side, globalist totalitarians, so that it can be covered up, so that they get away with it, and that the continuation goes on. And so their wishes are a war. It's so funny, the day before we did a reading, and the Ace of Wands reverse came up, and I kind of see that as it's like setting the world on fire. Okay, and that's what they want, right? But yet their plans are being dismantled. So this is what we were preparing for, is they're gonna step it up. Has so much to do with this 2024 election and creating a division in the world where the United States is against everyone else. Okay, it's this, or the Western world, because the attack is on the infrastructure of Western civilization. And who represents the Western civilization? Well, the United States and the Five Eyes, but they're deep state captured. So that's what we got to realize. The war is against the deep state, not the government. That's just a ruse and a distraction. They wanted to do this, and they've got something planned for other countries, right? And that's kind of what this talks about. So you see something happening over here, the plan is over there, and vice versa. So that's what I was trying to show people, is how they've got their hands in everything. It's well, Why are you giving Iran money if you know that they are going to fund terrorists? Like this thing of the getting out of Afghanistan, and they're reporting that that some of the weaponry from that was used in this attack. That doesn't surprise me. That's exactly what these guys have been doing, right? So we've got all of these different things, and the final one, I think, is definitely an attack on the United States. I think that's coming. It's not to perpetuate fear. It's to prepare people and to stop it. We might be able to stop it. That's the thing. I don't trust any of these guys. I don't trust any of these politicians, man. I barely trust the good ones, because they all are bringing us on the brink of this. The only one, honestly, that's been speaking truth, we know who that is. It's Trump. And look what's been going on with him. And so, like, that's the thing. Like, the attacks on him, even more now, right? Because they're stepping it up. They're stepping up, and they're trying to cover the tracks of the Biden regime and the Biden crime family. Because all this stuff is coming out, how much these guys are criminal, right? So that's a big part of it. So we need to see this. We need to see like your money is going towards these genocidal acts, both sides. Okay, one more. I don't know, like, it's so tough for us. We have to like, us on, I guess, more of a spiritual, from the spiritual impulse, have to kind of take a step back and not get caught up. Like, this is not the end, by no means. Like it's not the end of humanity. We're going to keep going on. That's what we have to realize. But we're in the midst of this battle, and it's almost like we have to get ahead of them and sort of dispel the need to go off and fight a major conflict and to go after these people with violence. Okay, that's a big thing, and I think that's something that we're seeing, like, especially in the States. We see these, but the whole world is kind of, the line is already being drawn. Like, they flashed this massacre in this village, it's horrible. Absolutely horrible, and condemn it completely. This is the perfect storm, right? Because you can't support that kind of action. You have to be against it, right? It's too horrendous. But it's the perfect excuse to go to war. And that was the same thing that happened in 9/11, okay? They're trying to step it up. So, and it's like getting ahead of it and not getting into the fray, and watching how, you got to watch how the extremists, two extreme sides that are being polarized, how they're going to fight and possibly even eliminate themselves or take themselves out in some way, shape, or form. There's a hidden gift in this. There's a hidden blessing, if you can call this a blessing. But it's more about this weeding out the deep state and the machinations of these people, and just it has to happen. These guys have to be caught. They will launch a nuclear bomb or something, and it's easy for them to do it, man. They could place a dirty bomb or some kind of nuke in the United States, and it's probably already happened. And rest assured, it is funded by these deep state globalist types, Soros, Open Foundation, BlackRock, and the intelligence communities. And they all have a hand in it, and they've been placing these people, and they've been trying to, it's like they have the places already sort of set up, right? And that's the thing. It's not alarmist, and I'm not saying going out and getting your pitchforks and burning stuff down. No, man. This is where we have to activate the, like, absolutely no violence, no war, and peace. And peace needs to be brought to both sides. That mentality, regardless of how difficult it is, because at all costs we cannot fight. Like, that's the very, 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 very important thing. And I mean, for many of us, we kind of get it, I guess. I don't know. The line is really tough. This is a tough one, because it's easy to kind of go back and forth. I mean, people believe all sorts of stuff. And people just need to kind of keep your inspiration levels up. Don't get caught by the division. Don't get caught by the hate and the violence. Stay away from it. Stay away from any kind of protests in the sense of because they're going to use it against us. They've already got it. They've already set it up. Terrorists. Same people that are calling us terrorists are the ones that are funding these terrorists like Hamas. And that's what we have to talk about. That's what we have to point out. With us on this side, this is an excellent opportunity to not only get into the spiritual practice and make that a part of the daily regime if you haven't already, but yeah, it's like accessing that part of us to receive direction, okay? And to offset what we're perceiving with what's going on in the world. Initializing this peace, awareness, and healing vibration that we need to embody, because we're being sort of prepared to be that kind of beacon in the world. That's enough for today. I hope you enjoyed. Now, wherever you are, please take care of yourself, and I hope you are well. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.